spawning down here in the bottom position. Give it up for our red Protoss Trap. And his opponent up here in the top, he is the invincible BYUN. And if you guys know anything about BYUN, you will know that in the TVP matchup especially, he loves his aggression. He wants to be in your face at all times, because when he's not in your face, you could be proxying. You could be somewhere out on the map where he can't scout you. Or you could just be being a straight up macro god like Trap and looking to overpower BYUN in the late game, which, I mean, BYUN is one of those players who he excels in that mid-game situation. There are some times where he does kind of stumble in that late game, especially in this matchup. But honestly, I think he's going to do pretty well versus Trap. I think these two meet up quite a bit, and I think it's kind of even. But I think that he's probably been baking in some new strategies versus him, as IEM is going to be coming up here. You know, both of these guys are going to be bringing their all because they don't want to show any weakness. And already, BYUN is going to be mixing things up. He's got the standard first Marine coming out. We have seen a lot of players just kind of decide to go for this much safer build in terms of this allows you to get rid of the first probe. It allows you to get an additional 2 to 3 Marines out as well. And with that, it's enough to shoo away the first adept that comes across the map if it so chooses. So overall, just really good to kind of just be safe. Even behind this, you know, you can go up to factory much quicker because you don't have that kind of gas investment other than this first reactor. And yeah, Trap, it looks like he might be going Twilight Council here, and there you go. As I say it drops on down. So obviously this can be just for defense here. Trap does have blink up his avenue. We will have to see when he does decide to throw down those additional gateways, how many he throws down. If he throws down 2, then it's more than likely a defensive opening, just trying to keep BYUN outside of his base. If he throws down 3, however, that is much more aggressive, much more, not necessarily all in, but super committed out of Trap. And we do see this adept kind of just hanging out in the front here, trying to bait out these Marines before sending that shade in. Get a little bit of information in the front, he's not going to see anything. If you let that finish, that is a really, really bad move. I'm kind of interested at this probe hanging out right there, as we do see the Stalker going to be joining with the Adept, just doing a little bit of poking. 2 additional gateways, and the Robo facility has gone down. Honestly, just with the probe there, that kind of tells me that maybe something else is going on. Maybe he's going to be... Okay, there we go. 3rd gateway has fallen down, and that does mean that BYUN has to be careful here. It looks like he's going to be going for an 8 Marine drop, and that's going to mean that he's not going to really have too much at home. You really, at this point, you need to have some semblance of splash damage. Widow Mines are not going to be enough. I think now, though, BYUN has kind of gotten an inkling for what's going on. I believe he did see that probe with his medevac that came across the map. It is just going to be Widow Mine drops. I thought it was going to be Marines because I've seen him do that a lot more recently. But for right now, he is getting camped out the front. The Widow Mine drop just getting ready to go in, is just waiting for that boost. And here we go. Is Trap paying attention? Looks like the answer is no for right now. The first Widow Mine shot is good. 2nd and 3rd following suit. Back at home, there is a ton of stalkers here. The pull just a little bit too late, so those Marines will have to get to the high ground. Fortunately for Trap, he does need to get a lot of damage done here if he's going to make it worth his time. Because again, this is a very big commitment. I mean, getting all those supply depots is pretty good, actually, because that's going to supply block BYUN for quite a long time. But, I mean, from here, he is going to have that third base up and rolling. He's got enough tanks to kind of block both positions. And I think as time goes on, Trap's position is just getting weaker and weaker. Okay, losing that siege tank, pretty big. But trying to focus down the Raven, he will get it, but at the cost of an additional Stalker. I have a Banshee going to be coming out soon. Happened flying around. Yes, they are. It looks like they did try to go in there with not getting too much done. The tank is going to just siege up in a very defensive position. Very forward, I have to say. If there was an observer out on the map, that is a very jumpable position for these stalkers. But I digress on that. We did see 2 additional probes going down to the Widow Mines. 6 and 4 kills on those, by the way. Pretty good. So, looking at this, what is the proper response? You've held on. The Stalker's still trying to get a little bit of damage done, but I don't think they're really going to be able to get too much more. So, from this point, you really do have a small opening as BYUN before the transition comes in. Before that transition, you can hit this nice crisp timing with some siege tanks, which will just allow you to really punish your opponent across the map. You see Trap still trying to have that soft contain because he knows that fact as well. They're going to be trying to get on top of that siege tank for some friendly fire. But oh my goodness, that was a very costly blink up that ramp. The War Prism going to save what it can. 2 additional stalkers going on down. You know, surprisingly, this would have been gone a while ago if BYUN had started a stim pack. You know, that's kind of one of the openings, or excuse me, timers for blink-based openings, just because once stim comes in, these Marines get so much more powerful to blink down. They're going to lose a couple of workers, but he's starting to get some pretty decent pickoffs here, forcing BYUN to remake the siege tanks. Behind this, we do have Charge on the way, going straight up to Storm. So overall, I'm really liking Trap's position. It's just he's going to have to do a little bit more here. Losing the War Prism, though, that's going to be very costly, and these Stalkers are trapped. No pun intended. Yeah, he just lost a ton of Stalkers right there, and he was trading them out for Marines and just getting 1 siege tank. That's not really enough to justify any of that. So now on a third base is Trap. BYUN does have his own third, but it's not on location. He's not really getting the benefit from that. Even though, just with mules, take a look at that income. It's heavily in his favor. Yeah, scans going down. He's not going to let these observers really find their locations anymore. I gotta say, I do like that Trap is still out on the map with these Stalkers. That just allows him to have not only an early warning system, but just the ability to get some deep pickoffs before the main fight begins. BYUN is going to be setting up, finally getting his third base down as the observer kind of gets all the information that he needs. We got a War Prism getting ready for the storms. A huge storm going on down, going to take out quite a bit of the bio. There are a couple left here as well. Now BYUN is going to have that pre-split perfectly if he wants to survive. Big storm just going to blanket this base, and 9 workers are going to fall. You know what? That was a bit of a trigger for BYUN. He's got to imagine that there's not really too much storm energy left. And indeed, there's only 1 storm available right now. The Zealots going to try and get on top, just doing what they can to slow this down. But as they get kited back, there's really not too much else here for Trap. Although we do have a flanking storm going to be coming in. The War Prism going to be reinforcing this. And BYUN, you know, he still has that advantage, getting rid of the Immortal as well. Beautiful plays here. Unfortunately, Trap just not really taking the engagement that he wants to. Forced to use the Storms to retreat, which is not really what you want to be doing at this stage. You want to be using that to advance forward. So from here, finally going to start to get those upgrades. You can kind of see BYUN did not go for a 2-2 until very recently. So now Trap is going to be able to kind of catch up in that regard. That just makes this army so much more scarier. I think as BYUN goes on, he's losing a bunch of windows to get that damage in. And he's playing it very cautiously, which is a little bit interesting here. We don't see BYUN usually being the cautious type of player. He's the kind that likes to get that momentum in, and from there kind of just trade very efficiently, and that way that he can just make sure that you're not making an economy anymore. Where I'm gonna whiff. Yeah, now Trap just really caught between a rock and a BYUN place. He's trying to find an angle to move in here. Will get the siege tank. Gonna get a decent storm here, but the Marauders will tank that. And now, with the addition of the Ghosts, this fight just becomes so much harder because he doesn't have any AoE other than the storm. And as you guys know, for every stormy day, there is always a sunny one after it. So as long as you can weather those first couple of storms, you're gonna be in a really good position. These guys are not inside. Good split's gonna make sure that he doesn't really lose too much. You can kind of see BYUN kind of setting around, getting a full War Prism right there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And now he's gonna try and force the engagement. 1 storm going to temper the retreat for Trap. So overall, BYUN being very patient right now. I think it's BYUN who really has the ability to force the engagement. As we do see 1 disruptor going to be coming out here. BYUN not paying attention is going to lose a big chunk of his army. These tanks do have that high ground vision, so they will get rid of one of those Archons. Now from here, Trap just really tanking way too much fire. Gonna have to get out of here, and taking a look at the army supply. A little bit deceiving because Trap does have a good majority of it back at home before just now going to be reinforcing. It just means he's going to lose a couple of Immortals in the front, and now forcing the engagement once again. The Zealots will help the force things back, but as those fall, those Colossus are very exposed. Pretty much every time that Trap has something like a Disruptor or a High Templar, he's been forced to use them for the retreat and not able to utilize them for the attack, which is really just hurting him in a lot of ways because these Colossus, while they're out now, don't really have a lot of support. 1 good Disruptor Ball gonna do what it can for the Siege Tank. Now from here, Trap down over 50 supply. He's gonna have to start making some big moves here to get back into it. I'm really worried for him here. Although that being said, just the fact that BYUN hasn't really been impeding any forward process is really kind of just making me angry. Not necessarily because it's a bad thing, but because he's not really forcing any sort of defense out of Trap, which is allowing him the time to just stay out here on the map and get these pickoffs like you've seen. Although he's going to trade out a Stalker for a Medevac. You don't really want to be remaking Stalkers right now. You want to go much big time with the Zealots, as they are much more useful. A Trap trying to force the issue, keeping BYUN back. The Disruptors going to help with the retreat, but this is pretty much just a game of positioning right now. Whosoever holds the high ground will win it. I mean, here we go. Siege tanks have sieged up the Disruptors. Gonna get a decent connection right there in the front, but not really enough to slow down BYUN. We do see a small Zealot run by. Gonna be coming over here, just blocking the CCs. But, oh no, BYUN, I don't really think you need to get rid of this position. I think just send a couple of units home to defend. And just keep pushing in here. Stalker's gonna blink on and get one of those medevacs. The Viking's not gonna be useful. Deal with this as the Ghost's also gonna go down. That is some pretty big pickoffs here for the Zealots. But he says, bye Disruptor making. You don't need any more in this game. I'm done with you. Now Trap really just positioning himself, looking for a big flank. Unfortunately, with these siege tanks, it's just gonna be really difficult to engage into this. Gonna get right on top of the Disruptors as well, canceling the Novas. And now, unfortunately for Trap, his army is not fighting together. That's gonna be it. GG. BYUN taking game number 1. Really just feel like if BYUN was a little bit more aggressive in terms of kind of forcing Trap to defend a little bit more, he would have been able to close that one out just a little bit quicker. But I digress. Trap did do very well there to try and kind of force BYUN to stay at home. I think that's kind of one of the things that's been doing better and better, as he is pretty much the top Protoss player in the world, I'd like to say. Just because of how much time and dedication he puts into it. And I mean, even when Protoss players were having issues last year, Trap was the one who kind of held down the fort. If Stats was the shield of Ire, then Trap was definitely the sword. But for game number 2, we are going to be hopping in to Lightshade LE. This is a best of 3 series, so there are no more chances for Trap. Without further ado, spawning in the top position as our red Protoss, he is Trap. And his opponent down here in the bottom in the blue trunks. Give it up for BYUN. All right, that is a very interesting path for that first probe. Like, we do have a gateway back at home as well. So let's see what he is going to be throwing down over there. Potentially another gateway for what's called the Max Packs opening. And by the way, Max Pack is in this group as well, so it would be pretty cool to see Trap pull that out. Look at that, BYUN. He's also just going to recognize that there is no base here, so he's going to want to keep an eye on if there's actually a probe going to be coming down. He will want to kind of send that guy up to the main base in order to find that out. Yeah, the second he sees double assimilator, he's going to know something really fishy is up. think really this is kind of an easy thing to hold on to. The way I saw it done was you would go for Marauders very early. You would get that, what do you call it? Concussive Shell. And with Concussive Shell, it's just so easy to deal with the stalkers that come across the map. Now, what has BYUN seen? Yeah, he's seen pretty much everything. So he knows really what's going on. And just going to throw down the bunker to stay safe. I think this is the best option for him. Again, you don't really need to commit too much. Just enough for the initial aggression. Trap, though, he's going to be having a lot of trouble with his expansions here, as he really can't break down that engineering bay and stay aggressive on the other side of the map. We do see a very fast warp gate. So, you know, he's going to try and more than likely he's going to try and macro his way out of this, but it's going to be a while. Kind of see Trap deciding that, okay, you're not really going to break here, so I'm just going to go home with the units that I have and, you know, throw something else at you. Stargate, for example, is a very nice choice on this map, as you do have a lot of positions where you can kind of break bio player. It's a little bit of a lull right now, as BYUN just going to be going back to what he does best. Macro, macro, macro. Got that Viking going to be coming on down. Now, he hasn't seen Stargate. We all know that. Actually, never mind. He did see Stargate. He sent an SCV in. Okay. Really good game sense right there to get some additional scouting information to see how aggressive BYUN was, or Trap rather, was being with this. So yeah, getting that Viking, the Widowmines will be able to kind of just hang it around, but Trap, you guys gotta know that his Oracle skills are tremendous. Maybe not Zest levels, but it's pretty much Zest levels of good. Force field is good as well. Just going to make sure that he can get some decent pickoffs on those Marines. You want to keep that number nice and low for when that Oracle comes in, but BYUN's not really having any of that. Instead, just going to go double Viking. There are a couple of instances where BYUN can be aggressive off the back of this. I think he's going to be pretty content to just try and break his way out of here, though. That's going to be pretty important. Careful, one force field is available. He whiffs it, however. One Cyclone will fall, but that's going to be in the end of all these gateway units. And now BYUN going to be able to take this base pretty much rent-free. You see that Trap kind of revealing the Phoenix here, however. The Vikings are going to have to lift up. No, BYUN actually doesn't have anything back at home. The Widowmine's going to get cleaned up. Now, Trap really has the angles to keep BYUN at home. We do see triple Viking just going to be the play here. I think, honestly, BYUN will be looking to hit a timing with this because of the fact that your opponent is investing so much into the Phoenix that he's not really going to have that many units on the ground, especially since we're only just now seeing those additional gateways come in. Which means that, yeah, we're going to have, what, a couple of Adepts and 2 Stalkers. Shield Battery will help out a little bit, but, I mean, with the Siege Tank Fire, that's just going to be a really tall order for Trap to defend. But defend he may. We'll have to find out. Stick around as this fight starts soon. careful as those stalkers don't actually have blink. No force fields as well. He is going to force BYUN into a very backwards position, but already this Phoenix going to be going down. This is already starting out really good. The Adepts should be enough to clean this up eventually, but with how much he's bled out right there, it's just not really good for the follow-up. Yeah, not even going to be able to take out the siege tank until just now. That was a very risky shade. There are enough stalkers left to kind of kite this back into the shield batteries. I think BYUN did smell blood in the water there, but you know, he's not the type to overreact. Just gonna back off. Powering up as we get Stim back. What is Trap doing? He is getting ready for the Colossus transition. Upgrades as well going to be lacking on in Liberator. To do a little bit of work, but the Stalkers should be enough to clean that up with the shield battery in tow. Okay, 3 kills. Not bad, but not good either. This is pretty nice. Be able to get in here with the Adepts, and now going to shade on out. You're getting 3 kills of his own. Now it's a little bit scrappier of a game than game number 1. You can kind of see action almost everywhere as both sides really just trying to get that harassment in, slow down their opponent. In BYUN's case, got Stim on the way, and I think that's going to be his kind of timing window. Once he gets Stim, I think that's kind of the best option for him to move out. Yeah, the War Prism's just going to try and keep him honest. You really just got to buy time for Charge to finish up. You're going to have those Colossi coming on out. There's a lot of things to kind of think about for BYUN. Let's take a look at the income here. Super even. Kind of see where the mules are dropping. Not that big a deal. Like I said, that's the time when he wants to get aggressive. Like those Vikings going to be hunting down the Warp Prism. If they can get that, that's going to be pretty nice, as it means he's going to be very, very safe. BYUN, I love you, but you got to put him back into gas. Here we go. Put him on. It's going to be covering the retreat, going straight for the shield batteries. The Colossus are 2 in number. That's just going to prompt BYUN to go for the drop in the main base, force the Stalkers to come on home. Oh, if he gets +1, that's going to be fantastic, because BYUN is not going up to 2-2, so keeping that upgrade advantage is going to be very important. Like Trap, just going to be setting up to clean up the reinforcements, but BYUN, smelling the trap, will come on home. No pun intended, by the way. Yeah, that was actually pretty good for BYUN. While he didn't get a lot, just the fact that he was able to stop the upgrades means that he's going to have a much bigger window for that +2. Even siege tanks as well. Looks like Trap, with a smaller army supply, actually wants to go for it. Will the Colossus be able to push him through? The answer is, I don't know. That's a lot of Zealots. Gonna be coming in from multiple angles. The Zealots not going to be fighting in tandem with the army, so they will actually fall relatively quickly. And now the Stalkers are all that's left to defend the front. Some good splashes going over most of the bio, as BYUN being very cautious right now with where he wants to engage. But oh man, I think those bosses are just so exposed. I'm just waiting for him to jump on them. You know what? Trap realizes that he can't break through there, so he will back out. Yeah, this is the kind of BYUN that you love to see. He's got an army almost double what Trap has, so he can afford to go for these drops. By the way, Blink isn't done yet just yet, so these Stalkers not going to be able to chase the Medivacs. Looking at it, they actually do miss them, like 2 ships passing in the night. As those are getting ready to move in, BYUN going to be going for that 3rd base, setting up. Ooh. Denying Blink, denying the Templar archives. That means that there are gonna, oh my goodness, there's gonna be no storms, no High Templar, no Archons, especially. Now Trap pulling a good majority of his army away. I don't know what was in there. I think it was Disruptors, but as BYUN jumping on top of the 3rd base, Trap feels like his time is up. And BYUN will take the series. Thank you for tuning into this series. Make sure you hit like and favorite and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. And we will see you guys at the next big event.